All right. Welcome to another Measure Master live training. I hope everybody can hear me. And we are ready to get started almost with this month's Measure Master live training. So we do these on a monthly basis, and usually we have a guest on to tell us all about their topic. And if you are not familiar with what we do here at Measure Masters, you can head over to measureschool.com/measuremasters and see what we have to offer there. And yeah, all about measurement today as well. Well, let's say all about the marketing field of measurement. I have a special guest here. I will bring up Ilana in a second. I just want to see if anybody is already here in the chat. Prava again here. Welcome to have you as well. Michal and Melina is here, so everybody can hear me and we can get started. And please let me know in the chat who is here, and I will check in regularly to see if there's anything that we can optimize. Okay, so what we are going to talk about today is the traffic puzzle. And for that, we have a special guest all the way from Australia, and that's why we're doing it in this time zone. Please welcome here with me, Ilana Wechsler from teachtraffic.com.
Hello,
cool,
Julian.
Ilana. Thanks for jumping on, and hoping we can, let me put you on the other side here. We are hoping to learn a lot from you. First of all, yeah, how did we meet I guess in Bali, right? That was the first time we kind of interacted, and then we kept in touch. Well, kind of took me a while to reach out to you. But
It's okay, no
yeah,
offense
I'm happy
taken.
happy to have you on. Let the viewers or the other Measure Masters, let them know about what you are up to and what are you going to talk about today.
Yeah, cool. I kind of cover like a little bit about myself in the presentation itself, so I won't reveal too much now. But I'm going to be talking about a concept that I came up with called the paid traffic puzzle. I've run a paid traffic agency for, I don't know, the last 8 years. It feels like 80 years, to be honest, in the traffic world. And I guess it's really just my lessons in how I grow and scale campaigns profitably from being in the trenches in so many different industries and so much ad spend across so many different ad accounts. You see trends, and I've really I've bettered down my process on how to build out and scale campaigns profitably. And it's through the paid traffic puzzle, which I sort of talk about in this presentation.
Nice. And how does data, like in your daily work, how does data play into this and with Google Ads and so on? So
Oh my God, so
this
much.
whole
Yeah. It is all about data, actually. Click-through rates, conversion rates, all that kind of stuff. But I guess what I reveal in the traffic puzzle is how to use data and insights to apply to different campaigns and different strategies. So you're not really guessing what's working. You're using the insights and analysis to apply that to other areas. And I guess it will become clear when I kind of go through the presentation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Okay, cool. I already see we have some people here. Let me just pull up the chat as well. Well, the chat is only real time, so it only pulls in whatever comes in when it comes in. So we'll go back to this later on. But just wanted to welcome Namit here and Anders as well. So great to have you. And we're looking forward to this presentation. So Ilana, why don't you take it away? Let me switch over here.
So can you see my presentation okay?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, cool. Awesome. All righty. So, what I'm going to be talking today, as I said, is the paid traffic puzzle, which is really how to use and combine Google and Facebook ads together to scale your campaigns profitably. And it's really, as I said, the lessons from spending, over $20 million in ads and, over almost a decade, really. So quick 5 seconds about myself. Hi, as you now know, my name is Ilana, and I'm coming to you all the way from Sydney, Australia. For most people in the Northern Hemisphere, I'm coming to you from the future. We are ahead on the clock. So I live in Sydney, Australia. Quick background about myself. I actually used to be a data analyst in the finance world for a number of years. So I'm not a marketing person. I'm very much a data person. I even used to be a programmer for a while, although I was a terrible one. And I, worked at the likes of, Goldman Sachs and PIMCO. If you're in the finance world, they're pretty big names. And I'm contrary to kind of the usual sob story of people who hated their job and wanted to enter on the entrepreneurial world. It's kind of the opposite for me, actually. I loved my work in the finance world. I didn't like corporate, but I loved the work that I did. And I had zero intention of leaving that, actually. I was going to be what's called a lifer, as they say in the industry. But life kind of took a bit of a left turn when I had my first child. And I realized pretty quickly that family life and corporate life are kind of like oil and water and don't really mix. So that's kind of how I fell into this. And I basically started I started my own traffic agency. I basically just did Google ads for businesses. So my agency literally only did Google ads for a long time. And I'd like to say it was a strategic decision to only do that. However, it was not the case. It was just what I discovered. It's a whole long story how I discovered Google ads, but I completely fell in love with it, and it was possibly the data analyst background inside me. I just thought this is my home, and I didn't want to mess around with SEO or web design. So I literally just I've done traffic for a very, very long, as I said, about 8 years now. And obviously when Facebook ads really took off, I incorporated other traffic channels into my agency, but it's basically just a paid traffic agency. And so obviously over that time, I have seen a lot of trends and spent a lot of money on behalf of clients, and we've seen what works. So yeah, this is over an 8-year period. You can see over $20 million in Google ads alone, let alone Facebook ads. So I've spent a lot of money on behalf of my clients and also my own business. So yeah, and then now I've really I still do a little bit of agency work, not a heap, but I've really distilled all my knowledge into my own membership called teachtraffic.com. And I now really focus on teaching people how to run their own traffic, because the reality is, like, for most businesses, they probably don't need an agency. Yes, if they're spending, lots of money, like $50K a month or something on ads, then sure, by all means, you need an agency. But if you're spending, like anywhere less than $5,000 or $10,000 a month, you probably don't. Like, you just need a handful of good, solid strategies that work, and you can pretty much run it yourself, I believe. So yeah, I distilled all that knowledge for members inside teachtraffic.com. And yeah. So really, with paid traffic, like, you can experience exponential growth. And, this is a classic, what do they say?
Ilana,
Yeah.
Just down below in your presentation, you have this little window where you can click on hide. So just click on hide, and yeah, no, now it's gone somehow. Okay,
Back?
now that looks good. Great.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is this is what you can experience when you do. Well, this is a Google ad shot. Like, Google ads the right way, you can experience like exponential growth. And this is actually using YouTube ads, but this is over a 10-month period, because paid traffic is an incredible platform when it's done well. And when it's done well, you can really like grow and scale your business and campaigns like to amazing heights when it's done well. When it's done badly, it can be a completely different experience. And I think these 3 photos illustrate the point well, that the same tool can be a vastly different experience for different people, or the same ride, when it's done when it's done badly. Yes, these 3 photos are of all my 3 children, and I can promise you that when my poor 3rd child in this photo got to the end of the ride, she actually did want to go on that ride again. So I don't feel so bad using it, but I feel it provides a good analogy for what I've seen over the years with paid traffic. Of some people just do incredibly well, and I've seen ad accounts that have just been done so badly, and people have wasted an insane amount of money. So my job here is to really teach you how to do it well. And when you do it well, I'm the firm believer that 1 + 1 can equal 3, and that's really using the 2 platforms together. Okay, so the other day, well, not, it was a little while ago, but one of my kids has sort of she's quite allergic. Okay, and so a friend of mine said, "Oh, Ilana, you really should get this cleaning product, which is for like a low toxin type cleaning product, right?" So as you know, I've got 3 kids from those 3 photos before. So I am in a predicament because I want to help my daughter, but at the same time, I need to clean. My house is pretty dirty. I need to clean my house, right? So they told me about this product. So I go to this product page, and whilst I've got my mum hat on, I'm also thinking about my marketing hat as well. So I land on this product page, and of course, my instinct is not to buy straight away because I want to do a bit of research. And so I leave this page, and the marketing person inside me is thinking, I wonder how they're going to try and win me back. I wonder what retargeting campaign these guys are going to be doing. And lo and behold, the next day I get served a Facebook newsfeed retargeting ad. Okay, so obviously this is the ad on the right, and I don't know what you think of this ad. I think it's pretty boring personally. They've shown me an ad for a mop, and it's really like, not much copy here. And if I think about it, like, what's going to really, get me over the line as a customer is really showing me how to use this product, right? So this is like a missed opportunity. But, It's got tons of engagement, 195 comments and 28 shares. So clearly people love this product. So, okay, we'll see what else happens. And then the next day, I get served an Instagram story retargeting ad, at least demonstrating how this product will clean, the shower in this particular example. They've got over 30,000 5-star reviews, etc. Okay, it's starting to get a little bit more interesting. Let's see what else they do. But that was it. Like, that was literally the extent of their retargeting campaign. And the problem with this is, with so many businesses like this, is that when you only do retargeting on social media, that also means that you can only advertise to me when I'm on social media. And I don't know about you guys, but I regularly take a social media detox. It's such a time suck. And I'm a pretty busy person that I, regularly disengage on social media. So if your retargeting campaign or your advertising campaign is on, Facebook or Instagram ads, which so many businesses fall into that category, then it's such a missed opportunity, because if somebody removes themselves from social media, you've lost the ability to market to them. So going back to this product page, you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a YouTube video, right? So if we zoom in on the YouTube video, you can see that they've got over 200,000 views. So clearly people are watching this video. Like, yes, this video is 4 years old, but still, people are watching this video. You don't get 200,000 views without that, right? So, and it's obvious, because people want to see what this product is going to do for them. Okay, so surely they should have at least retargeted on YouTube as well. And the reality is that so many of these businesses, and I'm picking on this particular business, but really they're not alone, so many do this, is that they treat each ad platform like a solo performance, like it's a solo concert, when the reality is that the different ad platforms work together to form an orchestra to produce a symphony. So whilst you can, like, people look in their Google Analytics and think, oh, this platform hasn't produced any return on investment, but it does contribute to the overall symphony. Okay, so I like to think of like a surround sound experience for your ads. So if you think about it, like, if you're sending traffic to your website, when you have the right cookies and tracking on your website, you've got many available retargeting opportunities to you. You can retarget on Google Search, Facebook, Google Display, Instagram, Gmail, and YouTube. So these guys were only doing 2 of the 6 available platforms, when reality is they were completely ignoring the Google ad platform in their retargeting campaign. Okay, so a couple of reasons why you would want to use Google and Facebook ads together, really. And this is definitely a big reason, and hopefully you've never received this email or seen this notification that your Facebook ad account has been disabled for policy violation. I've been in this game for a long, long time, and let me tell you, like, I have had countless people come to me saying that they don't know what they've done. Their ad account just mysteriously got shut down overnight. I know sort of early this year and sort of late last year, Facebook went on a blitz and banned a whole bunch of accounts. I mean, in completely benign industries. I had one person come to me, they're selling T-shirts, and another one was selling like stuff for backyard chickens. And for whatever reason, they got tripped up by the algorithm. They got the ad account shut down. Yes, some people manage to get their ad account back, but they've got to jump through all these hoops, and their support's terrible. And it's, if you're relying 100% on Facebook ads to market your business, please don't do that, because it's a matter of when and not if your ad account will get shut down. I'm sure many of you, your people listening to this, are probably nodding in agreement with me. It's a known thing. So you need to diversify traffic channels, and please don't put all your eggs in any one basket, let alone the Facebook ad basket, because they're notorious. There's a common marketing theory that you need, 7 touch points in order for someone to become a customer. The reality is, I don't know if it's 7, it might be 14 for your business, or it might be 2, depending on how big of a problem you're solving for your customers. out there. But the point is, it's usually more than one. And that's why I do like to engage on more than one platform. And what I'm going to reveal today is how you can really leverage success from, let's say, from social, your Facebook ad accounts or your social accounts onto Google, and really vice versa, how you can leverage what's working on the Google ad platform onto Facebook. And that's what I'm going to reveal today, because at the end of the day, it's really all about getting in front of your target customer, and your target customer is on multiple platforms. So it's about tailoring that message to your particular customers. And it really ultimately comes down to how well do you know your customers? What is going on in their head? What is the, somebody famously said, what's the conversation that's already going on in your target customer's mind that you can then engage in that conversation with them on those multiple platforms. And when you truly understand what your customers' wants, desires, pains, and frustrations are, I believe you then become the conductor of your orchestra, because you can control that messaging. And at the end of the day, it sounds pretty freaky, but you want your end customers to think, wow, this person understands me, they understand the problem I have, and they've proven to me that they can help me solve my problem. Okay, so I do find there's quite a bit of confusion as to the Google ad platform. Many people are quite scared of Google ads. You might have had an experience where it's melted your credit card or something like that. So really there's four main parts to the Google ad platform. The first is Google search. We've all done a Google search before, and those text ads that come up above the organic results. So that's this first bucket on the left, the Google search network. The next bucket is the Google display network, which behaves completely differently to the Google search network. The Google display network are the banners on other people's websites. So for our US listeners, I think New York Times, LA Times, eBay, etc. There's literally over 2 million websites that those particular website owners allow Google ads on their site. So that's obviously the caveat, is that website owner needs to allow Google ads to be on their site as a form of monetization. And so therefore, through the Google ad network, you can advertise on all those websites. So you can advertise on the New York Times without having to contact the New York Times directly, obviously. And so that's through the Google display network. It's a completely separate bucket because it behaves completely differently to the search network. You get much lower click-through rates on there, but it doesn't matter because you only pay for a click. The third bucket is YouTube. We all know YouTube. Generally, most people do what's called the in-stream ads, which are the video ads that come up before the video you're about to watch. There are other forms of YouTube ads that you can do, the discovery, and I'll sort of beyond the scope of this. But YouTube is its own beast of an ad platform, and actually I'm a big fan of YouTube ads. And the fourth bucket is Google Shopping, which are the image ads that are on google.com. And actually you can incorporate Google Shopping ads into YouTube ads. But yeah, Google Shopping is great, obviously, for e-commerce, not for lead generation. Okay, so when we talk about the paid traffic puzzle today, especially on the Google side of things, just think about, which bucket I'm talking about. Okay, so if you're all familiar with the concept of the sales funnel, somebody who's never heard of your business, you're trying to get their attention, develop their interest, and as they get further down the funnel, their desire builds, and then they're ready to take action. It's a matter of who they're going to buy from rather than if they're going to buy. Okay, so at the bottom of the funnel, really that's where you're going to be using the Google search network and Google Shopping. Somebody's literally typed into Google, Nike DLS 270 shoes. They're just trying to decide where they're going to buy them from, rather than if they want to buy those specific shoes, generally speaking. And the Google Display Network and YouTube can actually be used throughout the entire funnel. Okay, so let's talk about the concept that I came up with the paid traffic puzzle. So what happened was I had a situation with my daughter, one of my kids, who came to me and she said to me, "Mummy, can we do a puzzle together?" And I said, "Sure, I love puzzles." And she proceeded to hand me a bag of puzzle pieces. So I opened the bag, and lo and behold, there were just puzzle pieces in there without any picture of what the puzzle was going to ultimately look like. So I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be interesting. So I said to her, well, where's the picture? And she says, I don't have the picture. So I thought, okay, well, this is going to be interesting. How does one solve a puzzle without knowing what the final picture is going to look like? And so, essentially we're looking at a blank, what felt like a blank screen. And I stood back and I, thought, don't panic. Well, what would be the first way that I would solve this puzzle, even if I did have the picture? And the answer is that I would find the corners of the puzzle. And the reason you find the corners is because the corners are going to help you obviously know the position that they're in, and the corners are going to help you reveal what the next piece of the puzzle is. And then those two pieces are going to reveal what the third piece is. And it's that starting point. And it was at that point that I realized that this process that I was going through with the corners and everything is kind of exactly the same process that I go through when I help someone inside Teach Traffic or take on a new client in an agency, where at the end of the day, we always start with a retargeting campaign. And so the concept of the paid traffic puzzle is that the corners of the puzzle are actually your retargeting campaign. And the reason we always start with retargeting is because your retargeting campaign will help reveal, I guess, where your customers are engaging and what traffic strategy you should do next. Okay, so that's the concept of the paid traffic puzzle. And I'm going to walk you through like a case study of how we really filled in this paid traffic puzzle. And I personally find I learn better with a case study, and I can apply it to, a business that I can kind of understand versus like going through concepts. Okay. So starting out, our entire puzzle is just composed of retargeting. So retargeting on the Google search network, the Google display network in the opposite corner, YouTube retargeting in the bottom corner, and the final corner is retargeting on Facebook and social media, really, your Instagram. Okay. And that's all we do in the beginning. And there's a reason I always start with just retargeting, is because if I can't get retargeting to be profitable, then the answer is not to buy more traffic, I believe. The answer is actually to change your offer or change your creative or change your messaging to get retargeting to work, because retargeting is an incredibly powerful mechanism to convert the people who already know your business, have already come to your business, and for whatever reason didn't buy your product or didn't contact you, or life kind of got in the way. And if you can't lure them back and get them to convert, then there's a problem with your offer. So as I said, the answer, I believe, is not to buy more traffic. The answer is to change your offer, change your messaging, and it's very, very low cost. And we get that profitable. And when we get that profitable, then by all means, we start pouring more traffic into our retargeting funnel. But we've got to get that bottom of funnel profitable first before we even think about buying some cold traffic. And when we do kind of complete the puzzle, it can look a little bit something like this, where there's other components to it. And I'm going to obviously walk you through that right now. But really, the paid traffic puzzle can be used for any offer in any niche, or niche, as Americans say, which always feels a little bit weird to say because we say niche in Australia. And I've used it in a number of industries. So real estate investment, online business, Forex, SEO services, hypnotherapy training, dog training, guitar training, fitness coaching, you name it, I've done it. I guess that's what happens when you run a traffic agency for so long, is you get a real diverse range of experience. And I pretty much use this same process in all of these industries. So that's why I believe you can apply it to your own business following this process. But the reality is that everyone's paid traffic puzzle does look a little bit different. So that's why it's important to understand the process. And by doing so, we're going to go through a case study. Okay, So we had a client who was in the home building industry. Basically, they sold bricks and flooring and roof tiles and all that really boring stuff. So what do we do when we start out? As I said, we start with a retargeting campaign. Okay. And so this is, we implemented a Google Display Network retargeting campaign. So they're, following people around the web as they're reading articles on news websites, etc. And we get about 1,300 leads, and it converts at about 10%, which is good. Like that's a pretty solid offer. It's a pretty solid conversion rate for people. So that's good. That passes the test number one. And we also retarget people on Facebook, and that also works incredibly well. Okay. The problem with just implementing retargeting is you can't scale, right? It's like a bonsai. You can't really experience any growth, which is fine. We're going to get to that, but that's it's still worth implementing, obviously, retargeting, but then we need to explore other areas for where we're going to grow and scale. So we need to take this a step further. So we spread out, obviously, the corner pieces, and this is where we start filling in additional pieces to our pay traffic puzzle. And the first place I do usually like to start, not always, obviously it depends on the particular type of business you have, but I do love to start with the Google Search Network. You might be wondering why. One word: intent. I mean, somebody has, it's bottom of funnel stuff. Somebody's literally typed into Google, whatever it is that you sell, and they're just deciding who they're going to buy from. It's like sliding your business card under the nose of someone at literally the instant that they have searched for it. It's an amazing advertising opportunity. So we really bid on what's called high intent keywords. So somebody's typed in bricks for sale, right? That's somebody who wants to buy bricks or buy bricks online, etc. So somebody who's at the top of the funnel, who's would say not quite ready to buy, would type in just the term bricks. As they get further down the funnel, there's more intent. They might type in terracotta bricks. They're sort of getting closer to the type of product that they want. Or somebody down the bottom of the funnel might say buy terracotta bricks and a location, which is also very high intent factor. Okay. And so really, somebody who types in just the single keyword bricks, that's going to get a huge amount of search volume, okay, which is why we wouldn't go for that single keyword. And as they go further down the funnel with more and more words in it or more long tail, the intent gets higher, but the search volume gets lower, as you can see here, or as also shown in this chart here, where the shorter tail the keyword, the higher the search volume, versus the longer tail keyword, the longer the word, what they've typed in, the lower the search volume. But on the flip side, the higher the conversion rate. Okay, so we implement that, and we implement, as I said, this very standard Google search campaign. And that works very well. But the problem with this is what ultimately ends up happening is you end up buying all the profitable search traffic that there is. There's only a limited number of people who type in buy terracotta bricks Melbourne, and you can't make more people search for that if they don't exist. So it's like filling water in a cup. Once the water reaches the top of the cup, well, there you go. You've kind of capped out on it, which is basically what happens with retargeting as well. You've reached all that audience, and then you've maxed out on that. Okay. But we can kind of really scale our search campaigns further by doing what's called Google search retargeting. So somebody comes to your website, they leave, and then they're Google searching. And we do this with what's called a top of funnel keyword. So as I said before, with the funnel, we would never dream on bidding on the single keyword bricks on their own, which has 10 million search volume and could mean anything, right? It could mean, a kid doing a research project. It could be someone looking for, I don't know, the lyrics for Another Brick on the Wall, the Pink Floyd song, like who knows, right? But what if somebody had been to, this particular client website, and then they use bricks somewhere in their search term after they left, sometime after, even up to a month afterwards? well, then at least I know that they were at one point looking at my client website, at one point looking at bricks. Then I might consider bidding on just for them. So we do that. We actually implement a search retargeting campaign, but for the top of funnel keyword. And lo and behold, we get an extra 3,500 leads using this strategy. So I wouldn't do this for anyone. Like I wouldn't do this for, as I said, anyone. I'm only doing this for the people who've come to my client website, and therefore I know that they're renovating. I know that they're in the market for this type of product. I'll just bid on just that single keyword because of all the possible things that they type into Google. And as I said, this works incredibly well. And then that becomes like the next piece in our paid traffic puzzle because it's attached to our search retargeting. Okay. And we can really scale with that. So there are a couple of problems with search. Whilst it's great and it's very high intent and it converts very well. As I said, what happens is it's like filling, gas in your car. Once the petrol tank is full, you can't add more petrol to it, right? You buy all that profitable search traffic. So you reach a point where you can't really scale anymore. The other problem with Google search is it's very expensive. This is a screenshot from a different client that I've got that's in the legal space. And yeah, they pay, anywhere from about $20 per click. That's just a click. That's not a lead. That is a click. I mean, for this particular client, it's more than worth it for them. And, they've got a very high ticket offer, obviously being family lawyers. But you really got to know what you're doing when you're spending $20 on a click. And I've had some client who spend, $60, $70, $80. So it's pretty insane, the prices of it for certain industries. So you got to know what you're doing. Okay, so you need to be bidding on the right keywords. And so how? Well, the first place to look at is in your account to see what do your buyers say. So you can look at what's called the search term report, which is what your ads actually showed for, or what somebody actually typed into Google that triggered your ad, because there is a distinction between the keyword that you're bidding on and also the search term, so what somebody actually typed into Google. So we look for the keywords which convert very well, and we can use them, or we can also use a spy tool to see what keywords we should bid on, and this can pretty much reverse engineer most if they're buying enough traffic. So my tool of choice is called SEM Rush. I don't know if any of you guys use it. You can put in a competitor URL and it will tell you what keywords that they are bidding on. And so for Weight Watchers, I can see that they're bidding on these, 16-8 diet, liver cleansing diet, etc. And I can even see their ad copy and what offer that they are running. And it just helps me do some competitive intelligence, and I can kind of get additional keyword ideas that possibly I also might want to bid on as well. Okay, so let's take this a step further. And this is where we start to really delve into the other buckets of Google Ads, which is the Google Display Network and YouTube, which is really where you're going to experience all your growth and scale. As I said, with the problem with Google search is, you buy all that profitable traffic. Okay, so how do you target people on the Display Network or YouTube? And there is a lot of confusion out there in this, and it's basically broken down into two distinct categories. The first is content versus behavior. And what do I mean by that? I mean by the where versus the who. The where, which is like where someone goes on the web, in that what content that they're reading. So, what are the topics and types of content that they're reading, versus the who they are as a person, irrespective of where they go on the web. It's about who they are as a person. Okay, so if we focus on the first one, which is the content on the page, which is the where they go, you can target people based on sort of, as I said, like the keywords that are on a page. Even though this has sort of changed recently, it's you've got to give them a bunch of keywords, but like certain topics or you can target specific placements or specific URLs on the web and say, I only want to advertise on this particular website, regardless of who is on there. And this is pretty I guess, standard way of targeting. The other way, which is sort of, I guess, what trips people up is the behavioral targeting. So if we take me for an example, where basic information about me is that I'm a female, I'm between 35 and 45, and I live in Sydney. The thing is, there's a lot, for the people who really know me, there's a lot more to me than just these bits of information. The people who really know me know that I'm actually a business owner and that I love cooking and recipes. They know that I'm learning to surf and I'm an avid traveler, although not right now in times of COVID, where currently our borders are closed. And they know that I recently got a dog, and Google actually knows this about me. And how does Google know that? Well, they know that I use the Chrome browser and that I'm frequently checking travel deals on my phone, although, as I said, maybe not recently. I'm browsing food blogs and recipes, always looking for the latest recipe and inspiration. I'm watching puppy training videos on YouTube to try and train my dog. I'm watching surfing instruction videos on YouTube, etc. So Google has worked out all this information about me based on my browsing behavior on multiple platforms, okay? So really that's been their innovation in the last probably 12 to 18 months, maybe even 24 months, is they previously had a lot of this data, but now they've joined the dots of the data. And if you think about it, they have an insane amount of data. They obviously own google.com, right? So they've got all search behavior. They own YouTube, which is famously promoted by Google as being the world's second largest search engine. They own Gmail, they own the Pixel phone, they own Google Apps for Business. Google Analytics is basically on every single website out there. So they've connected the dots of that data. And that's how they've really done their behavioral targeting, because they know who you are as a person based on all that data. And a classic form of behavioral targeting is remarketing or retargeting, right? Based on my behavior last week, I went to this particular website, I did not buy, and then based on that behavior, I'm then shown an ad today. Okay. Other types of behavioral targeting which you can do on Google is what's called the in-market. And I want it affinity, custom intent, and custom affinity. There are a couple more, but really these are the main ones. So if we delve in a little bit to these, the in-market audience are actually one of my favorite ones. And these are really based on short-term intent-based searches. So people are actively looking for products or services. So for example, I am not a car person at all, like really much to the horror of my son who's obsessed with cars. I could not care about cars whatsoever. If I suddenly start browsing car websites and looking at, Volvo's latest car and comparing that to Subaru, comparing that to, Audi, etc., Google's going to go, whoa, what's going on here? Ilana normally doesn't look at car stuff, and suddenly short-term intent-based searches are going on about cars. Google's going to put me in an in-market category for, and actually, lo and behold, one of them are auto vehicles, and you can actually get subcategories of new versus old, except that's pretty crazy what you can do. And so they put you in these in-market audiences based on unusual behavior. So things that you don't normally do when you're suddenly searching for, those are the in-market audiences. Contrast that with the affinity audiences, which is the sort of your long-term search behavior. It's very broad audiences. So for me, as somebody who loves cooking, my affinity audience would be food and dining and cooking, because I'm always looking at cooking recipes, etc. Okay, and really the main difference between the in-market audiences and the affinity audiences is time, as in the short-term behavior versus your long-term behavior. In-market's a matter of weeks, and affinity is over a number of years. Okay, the custom intent and the custom affinity are basically a build your own one. So custom intent, just to be confusing, is really a custom in market. You're building your own in market audience. So you give Google a bunch of keywords that people have potentially been searching for, and it builds your own custom intent or custom in market audience based on the keywords that you give it. And contrast that with the custom affinity, which is a build your own affinity audience. Okay, starting out, I'm going to suggest that you don't even touch affinity audiences. You only test the in-market or the custom intent audiences. Actually, we are really enjoying custom intent audiences at the moment. So yeah, starting out, only focus on that end of it. Okay, back to the paid traffic puzzle. So we're going to shift gears and go to the Google Display Network now that you understand how the targeting works. And we implement a Google Display retargeting campaign. Okay, and this is where we do a little bit of detective work, and I do love some detective work. When you implement a Google Display retargeting campaign, so someone comes to your website, they leave, suddenly banners start following them around the web. What happens is you start to see some, what I like to call digital footprints, right? Like footprints in the sand. You get to see, Google tells you what websites they went to after they left your site. Obviously, we're only the websites that had Google ads on there. It's not going to be every single website, because they're telling you the impressions and the clicks and the conversions of the certain websites once they left, okay? Which is why you can't see it for every website, only the ones that have allowed or your Google ads were served on there, okay? So for our home building client, we implemented a Google Display retargeting campaign, and we could see that, we were getting conversions or leads from, really home building centric type websites, right? So home1.com.au, Gumtree, which is kind of like an Australian equivalent of Craigslist, realestate.com.au, House Beautiful, Better Homes and Garden, Renovating Magazine. And, when you think about it, of course, if someone's looking to buy bricks, then they're renovating, right? So they're looking to decorate. And then once their building has been done, they want to decorate their home. And so, of course, looking through the placement report on our retargeting campaign has revealed to us the type of websites that our target audience goes to, okay? And so here I just zoomed in a little bit. So if we go to these websites and we can see, Better Homes and Gardens and Homes to Love, we can actually see like the kinds of placements, the available ad units where our ad was shown, right? So we can actually then use those insights and use that data and say, hang on a minute, like if my retargeting audience are going to these websites, surely more people who go to those websites are my target customers who haven't found my client business yet. So surely I can say to Google, hey, Google, I want to advertise on these particular websites for all their visitors, not just the people who've come to my website, right? And lo and behold, we implement this and it works. And of course it works, right? Because, the retargeting report revealed to us where our type of customer goes. It makes sense that those readers, more of their readers would be our target customer. So we implement that. As I said, lo and behold, we get a bunch of conversions, and on average a conversion rate of about 6%, which on the Google Display Network is very, very good. And so that is the next piece in our paid traffic puzzle, which we would not have known had we not first implemented a display retargeting campaign. Of course, it makes sense when we look at that data, but really that data revealed to us what placements we should use. So we'd have the best chance of success with it. Okay, but then we can kind of take this a step further and get another idea, and we can match the placements on Google to apply to our Facebook targeting. If you're not sure what I mean, if you think about it, many of these magazine style publisher websites have a social media presence. I mean, that's where they publish a lot of their content. So Better Homes and Gardens, for example, has 6.1 million fans. On Instagram, 140,000 followers. Surely it makes sense that I should target the readers of Better Homes and Garden magazine on Facebook, right? After all, my Google retargeting campaign revealed to me that I know they go there. I know they register for my whatever is the offer. Surely it makes sense. Why do I have to wait till they go and read an article on there? I can target them whilst they're scrolling their newsfeed, right? I don't have to wait for them to read an article on there. And I can do the same for YouTube as well. So I can really apply that to my paid traffic puzzle for my Facebook targeting and also my YouTube placements. And you can see how they're interconnected now. Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. And let's say you're doing some cold traffic campaigns on Facebook and doing interest targeting. So targeting people who are interested in renovating, obviously, homeowners, etc. So we're doing Facebook interest targeting. We can actually match some of our Facebook interest targeting to Google's in-market audiences. Now that you know what in-market audiences are, which is the next piece in our paid traffic puzzle. And lo and behold, there is an in-market audience, a top-level category of home and garden. Within home and garden, there is a subcategory of home improvement. And within home improvement, there are people who are in the market for flooring, kitchen and bathroom cabinets, painting, plumbing, tools, etc. So this is exactly my target customer. And so lo and behold, we implement this as a display campaign, and it also converts very well as well, which is not a surprise because I know that I've targeted on Facebook. It should work on Google. So if you're wondering, how do I know what in-market audience would be the best for my own business? Well, if you've installed Google Analytics on your website, well, then you're in luck, because in the audience section under interests, there is a subsection called in-market segments, which are the in-market segments for your audience, right? So for all your traffic that come to your site, even if you're not doing any ads, even like you've got traffic coming from SEO, it will tell you what in-market segment your traffic applies to, which is great. And you can actually rank by your goals to see which in-market segment is the most likely to convert as well. So we can also then apply our successful in-market targeting to search and YouTube. So we can actually take this as a bit of an advanced strategy, but combine the in-market targeting with our top of funnel keywords. And lo and behold, that also works really well. So a search campaign combining a top of funnel keyword with our in-market audience. And yeah, that, as I said, so keywords and in-market also work really well. And you can also apply this to YouTube as well. Okay, so say on Facebook, you are also targeting competitors, which many people do. So, for example, in the home building industry, Boral was one of their products, 103,000 fans, Colorbond, 200,000 fans, etc. We can use our competitor targeting to build a custom intent audience, which is another piece of our puzzle. And so we can put in the competitor URLs into Google. I like to put in a bunch of keywords as well. So mix competitor URLs and buying keywords to say to Google, hey, Google, I want you to build a custom intent or custom in-market audience of people who've gone to these websites and use these type of keywords, because we know that works really well. And we implement that on Google, and that also works incredibly well. And you can also do that to YouTube. And then we have filled in our paid traffic puzzle for this particular industry. Okay, I want to touch on a couple of money wasting mistakes on Google, because if you do Google ads wrong, it can really, really melt your credit card. And I don't want that to happen for you, because I've seen it so many times, and it still hurts me every time I see it. Good money down the drain is just not fun, and really Google's got enough money, in my opinion. So classic money wasting mistakes that you can avoid. Okay, the first is no structure. Okay, the classic mistake I see people make, so please don't do this, is they create one campaign. Within that campaign, they have one ad group, and in that ad group, they put 300 keywords in that one ad group. Please, please, please do not do this. The problem with this is that it's impossible to have 300 keywords that are all related to each other. And ad groups are called ad groups for a reason, because there's an ad that's attached to that group. And so you want ad relevance. So the keyword has to really be very, very relevant to the ad that you're showing. And if you have all your keywords in the one ad group, it's impossible to have a good ad attached to it. So you need structure to have good ad relevance. So you have keyword themed ad groups to ensure the right ad is shown for the right keyword. And when you have good ad relevance, you get a good quality score, which means your cost per click comes down. So we've had many, many situations when people have come to us and they paying, I don't know, for argument's sake, let's say $5 on a cost per click. We rebuilt their campaign with the proper structure. We then got better click-through rate and ad relevance. Google rewarded us with this, with a good quality score. If you're not sure what I mean, it's maybe a topic for another discussion. And they reward a good quality score by reducing our cost per click. And we have managed to bring down the cost per click significantly for many people, purely by implementing the right structure. Okay, so that's what you want to do. And that's when you get really good click-through rates and really good conversion rates by doing this method. Okay. Another classic mistake, number 2, is they mix search and display. So those first 2 buckets together. Oh my goodness, it's a disaster when this happens. Please do not do this. It's like your account is a complete mess. The result, this is actually a very old screenshot, but this is, to show you search network and display together. You get terrible click-through rates, terrible conversion rates. And because this is the default setting when you create a campaign, is that the search network and the display network are automatically clicked together. So you're going to deselect one of them. So by all means, do a search and a display campaign, but they are separate campaigns and they are treated completely differently. Okay, so treat them separately. The third mistake people make is that they use broad match keywords without really realizing the impact of it. When I see this is probably the face I pull. I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to see here? And when I look in what's called the search term report, which is, as I said, what somebody's actually typed into Google, which triggered their ad, I'm pretty horrified. So this was a screenshot from an account. I audited a dental practice in Melbourne. So they're like a dental surgery, right? Yeah, and their ads are showing up for all around Australia. And, Australia's a pretty big country, right? So Hobart's about a 2-hour flight from Melbourne. Thailand is about a 10-hour flight. I don't think anyone from Thailand is going to fly to Melbourne for this dental practice. It's a very local business. So really these ads are showing up for all around the country, or for terms all around the country. Okay, and this is purely because they used broad match type keywords. This is another one for a web design company who also made this classic mistake. They were then showing up for residential designers, decor design, house designers, etc. And these are cost per clicks of like, $9, $8. For the dental one, also $9, $8. So it doesn't take much to rack up a lot of wasted ad spend. Okay, so my suggestion is to use phrase match instead of broad, and by using the syntax, the inverted commas. I used to say modified broad, but it's being retired at the moment from Google. Change is the only constant. So phrase is now the new modified broad. And so that's the one I recommend. Okay, no negative keywords is another classic mistake. I was a bit cheeky and I typed into Google bad dentist Bondi. As you can probably tell, I used to specialize in Google ads for dentists. I know a lot about the dental space. So I typed in bad dentist Bondi and all these ads have come up because these advertisers did not put bad as a negative keyword. I put in worst dentist Bondi and all these 4 ad spots have also all come up as well because they have not put worst as a negative keyword. So you don't want to see this. You don't want to see that you do not have any negative keywords. So you need to add in the negative keywords. And we actually in our agency have a default list that we add to all our campaigns, which you can download it if you like. You can just head on to teachtraffic.com/negative, download that negative keyword and just upload it into your campaigns. so that you don't show up for bad and worst and dodgy and all those kind of permutations as well. No ad extensions is another mistake people make. So as you can see here, when I typed in where can I buy bricks online, this ad has got way more ad inventory than this guy. It doesn't cost them any extra, and it looks much better, and they've got extra, I guess, ad real estate. So we do that through what's called ad extensions. Look at this one. They've got extra lines, they've got links, etc. And look at this. This is I've got one of those big iPhones, and this ad basically took up the entire screen on my mobile because they enabled all the ad extensions. Does not cost any extra. Most people don't do it. So you need to incorporate your ad extensions into your search campaigns. There's a whole bunch of little sneaky gotchas. I actually have a Google Ads gotcha guide, which will show you a lot of the sneaky default settings that people don't know, burning them money. So you can also download that for free as well if you want at teachtraffic.com/gotcha. But really, at the end of the day, there are so many ways that you can solve the traffic puzzle. So if I take my business, for example, at teachtraffic.com, my paid traffic puzzle actually looks a little bit like this. I do Google search retargeting, the top of funnel strategy, search, and a bit of my brand. For display, I actually just do retargeting. I do a bunch on YouTube. So I bid on YouTube keywords, custom intent, and retargeting, as well as social media stuff. So really, the question I have for you is what's your paid traffic puzzle? Because your paid traffic puzzle will be somewhat unique to your own business. So there we have it today. We are basically taken to the top of the hour. If you have any questions, love to hear from you. You can just email me at ilana@greenarrowdigital.com, or you can check out my website, teachtraffic.com or greenarrowdigital.com. And I also got a podcast called Teach Traffic, which I talk about all sorts of traffic stuff as well. So there we have it, Julian. That is the end.
Yes, thank you very much, Ilana.
Sure.
Let me just switch off your screen here, and let's go back to this one. Yep. And thank you very much. You can hear me, right? Yeah.
I can hear you, and I can see a lot of questions.
Yes, we have some questions here already. And I also just wanted to add, because you showed that last slide, you have a YouTube channel. So definitely for anybody who's watching this on YouTube, you can go over and search for Ilana's name or Teach Traffic. And hopefully soon also on our YouTube channel, if we can make it work at some point as a guest contributor there as well. Okay, we had some questions, and I want to go through them. They were quite interesting because there's so much going into building your traffic strategy, and you laid it out with all these different targeting options. I'm like, when I started out, I was mainly doing Google search ads, and it worked quite nicely because it's so predictable. But then over time, there were so many new things that came into play for Google Ads, obviously, but then also Facebook gained ground, and there's so many more options now. And then you have YouTube and so on. So it's interesting to hear your strategy there. The first question was from Anders, really, because you said that on the edges you would do retargeting mainly. Now, retargeting is kind of, with the whole privacy thing, under scrutiny a little bit. So he asked the question, is retargeting is under fire from privacy regulations. How will you handle the changing landscape here? Is there any guiding advice?
Look, I mean, this is an evolving space, to be honest, and something that we're all still working out. I mean, the iOS update only dropped this week, right? And so it's on social, it's probably, you can still do it, but what can you do? Like you can only do as much as you can do. I mean, you can use other so for example, in the health space, it's prohibited on Google to retarget, and they actually have that health banner pretty broad. Like, for example, as mentioned, I did Google Ads for dentists extensively. You can't retarget in the dental space, and so, which I think is pretty crazy. But you can use other tools like perfect audience or ad roll to sort of get around that. But yeah, look, I mean, you implement it, and it's never going to be perfect, and it's a changing space, and we don't really know what's going to happen.
True. It's just the same with data. There are changes coming, and we might get less data, and might even find that retargeting doesn't quite work as well anymore. But right now we're still working with what we have, I guess, and
that's right.
That's the only thing that you can do, and measure, obviously, and see if you're still getting the results that you're getting. Otherwise, maybe you need to look for something else. But there's just no perfect solution here.
There is no perfect solution, no. And at least on social, I would make sure you're using, UTM links, because there's people who say they opt out and want to be tracked. But this is an evolving space for us all, actually.
True, yeah. And Venice, what's his name? Veni SEO, probably. Which will be the bid on your search remarketing ads in your example of bricks, conversions order? I guess he means by that, or he or she means by that, the goal that you set for yourself. Would you bid on like the targeting, the goal that you have for your targeting? Is it in the end a conversion goal or a lead goal? Do you understand the question?
I'm wondering if he's talking about, he or she is talking about automated bidding versus manual bidding, because you can choose to manually select your bids, or also do what's called Google's automated bidding, where you can set a target CPA or a target ROAS, and they do the bidding for you. Maybe does this person maybe want to ask the question again? Maybe.
Anyways, if you are still on, you can clarify this for us a little bit. Then Kiesi had a question about working with B2C companies, and how would your strategy maybe change if you work with B2B companies?
It's a tough one. Depends on what type of B2B. I mean, I have done a lot of B2B. However, it's very hard, at least from a Google search point of view, to really filter out the B2C people, because they might type in the same things into Google, and it's just, it's one of those things that you've got to be very strategic in the keywords that you bid on to try and filter out those people. But it is possible, but it's just, you got to be quite strategic about it. I have done it, but admittedly, it doesn't always work. And I always say to people, like, just expect that you're going to get some B2C people slip through the cracks by merely just what they type in. It's if you really, really want to do exclusive B2B, then, and you just don't even want to engage in any type of B2C, then maybe Google Ads isn't right. Maybe it's LinkedIn or something ads where that is exclusively B2B.
True. Yeah. So in terms of like when you're filling in your traffic puzzle, how would you say when you're getting stuck somewhere and say, well, this is not working for me, is it that you would skip that step and go on to anyways doing Facebook, or are there like kind of stoppers in there that you say, well, retargeting kind of works for me, but the other stuff doesn't work for me, so I'm going to stop here?
It really depends on, I guess, where we're getting traction. Like if we're getting traction on one platform and it's working really well, then it might be worth spending a bit of time, extra time, and really building out and scaling that, and coming back to things that possibly weren't working as well. I guess that's what I've learned, is that, I never say just to be on one platform, because it's really risky, be it either Facebook or just Google. But if one's working incredibly well, then it possibly might be worth just kind of really trying to grow and scale that, whilst at least at a minimum keeping the other one humming along nicely. And it also, many people also focus on just what the cost per click is. And I just wanted to say to your listeners, like, you've also got to factor in the quality of the lead, because not all clicks are created equal. And I have this sort of discussion with many people who are, in the online education space specifically, that like they say, oh, I get cheaper leads from Facebook. It's like, well, but what are the quality like? So I know for my own business, my YouTube ad subscribers are better subscribers because like they open the emails and they're more engaged and they know they actually want to learn what I'm teaching versus somebody who's scrolling in their Facebook newsfeed and sounded interesting, but they're never going to open the email. They're never going to actually read the ebook,
Yeah, absolutely. I also wonder, when I was listening to you just there, is how would the traffic puzzle, I mean, you did it kind of bit by bit, but how would it change if you are actually working with an agency or you have massive amounts of money available? You can probably start one or the other techniques one by one much faster, right? Or
totally.
how does
Yeah.
money influence that?
Yeah, and as somebody who's run an agency for so long, like it's great when you get a bunch of money landed in your lap and you've got, great, we can test a bunch of stuff, we can throw a bunch of stuff against the wall, and we buy a heap of data, and then we get that data and we really distill it and go, right, okay, we can cull this, let's double down on this, and you can really speed up the process. But in my experience, like most people don't have an unlimited budget, and they don't have that sort of I guess money at their disposal to just frivolously put away, But having said that, I've also worked with corporates where they say to me, we have to spend this money, otherwise we're going to lose our budget, And so we're just trying to spend money, which is crazy, But yeah, you can really speed up that process of the paid traffic puzzle by dumping a bunch of money into different strategies.
And I'd love to hear also your opinion about the difference between Google Ads and Facebook, because back in the day when I was doing Google Ads and then we tried to do Facebook was so much more unpredictable, and Google Ads was always like, okay, you set it and then almost you forget it. You get conversions and they work pretty well and you don't have to change much, but Facebook was also inconsistent. I don't know if anything has changed there over the years.
Oh God, yeah. I find Facebook incredibly volatile. You'll have some days where you feel like you're on top of the world and you're a hero and you can conquer the world, and then literally you don't change a thing, and the next day your campaigns, are down and you're like wondering what's going on. And I just find the Google ad platform a much more stable ad platform. It's much more consistent. And I don't know if it's I guess the search traffic is also incredibly consistent. I find YouTube ads pretty consistent as well. And yeah, I don't know why. Maybe it's the intent factor with it, but that's definitely my experience, is it's way more stable.
Okay, so we have a question here. What about combining Google search and search partners?
Yeah, I don't mind doing that, depending on what it is. But yeah, that's sort of going beyond the search network, and there's sort of different partners that sort of fall under their category. So sometimes we will combine it. Once our campaigns have been running with the combined Google search and partner, you can look at the performance between them, how the search network has gone and the search partners, to see if it's worth continuing with search partners. And sometimes it's worth continuing and sometimes it's worth not. So it's worth a test. And then once you've got some data, you can choose to turn it on or off after that.
Okay. This is great. And then one question from Kerstin as well about the negative keyword list. Would you add them to the campaign or the ad group? Yes.
So this question is asking, do we add negative keywords to what's called the negative keyword list, or do we add them individually at the campaign and ad groups? I'm a big fan of negative keyword lists. So it's just much sort of better organization. So the difference is, let's say you've got 10 campaigns, right? If you add them to each individual campaign, if you think of another negative keyword, you've got to add that same negative keyword to all your other campaigns. Compared to if you had a negative keyword list and the list is applied to those 10 campaigns, you only have to add a negative keyword to the list and it's automatically rolled out to those 10 campaigns. So I personally use negative keyword lists. From a management point of view, it's much easier to manage, and it's just easier.
Then we had a question here from Konstantin about Facebook campaigns are super volatile. ROAS went down. How to rethink the strategy? Do you have any advice?
Oh, that's
Pretty
just welcome to
general.
the Facebook ad world, like that's just part of it. I would a common thing I find with Facebook ads is, you've got an ad that's working really well. For whatever reason, the creative just dies. I don't know why. So I would relaunch some creative and see if you can get it back up. But just hold on tight because it's going to be really volatile while this whole iOS thing is in the process of being rolled out. And I've already noticed in my ads manager, there's like a number now next to it says how many people that have opted out who they think have converted. I don't know, it's going to be blood on the streets there.
Yeah. Okay, and then we had just a follow-up here from Vani Seo about the bid strategy. So is it set to max conversions or to click impressions?
So it's a good question. So basically what they're asking is for your search retargeting campaign. It's kind of what I thought. They're doing the automated bid strategy of maximize conversions, or do you do manual costs per click? I only personally do maximize conversions for brand campaigns because then I kind of want to make sure I'm there. Maximize conversions is basically you saying to Google, hey, Google, I want to just get me as many conversions as you want at any cost. So I would do that for a brand campaign. For retargeting, I do personally like manual cost per click because I want to control my impression share and I want to make sure that my ads are there. With automated bidding, in my experience, Google don't tell you this, but what I personally find is it can work really well, and then there happens to be a gradual decline in impressions and clicks, and then suddenly your ads aren't even being shown because the machine kind of doesn't get enough data. So it's a function of how much traffic you get to your site. So I personally would just do manual cost per click for retargeting.
Cool.
Hopefully
Great. Okay. One last question that I had, I guess it's more of a general question on, there's a lot of automation going in. I guess
Yeah.
a few years back, you were doing a lot of things manually. The more time you put into your AdWords campaign, the better results you usually got. And nowadays you have, especially on Facebook, these kind of feed the algorithm and then you'll get results. How do you see this in Google Ads or also in Facebook? Is that more something that you resist and try to do more manually because you can control the outcome there? Or do you say feed the algorithm, you just need to give the best data and then they will run with it and you'll get good results? I don't know.
Yeah. We do a combination of both, actually. So, for many of the people I help, I sort of, and some of our clients in our agency, we will do the automated bid strategies, but we keep a very close eye on it. And as I sort of said before, we sometimes will notice after a couple of weeks there's a general downward trend with the automated bid in which we have to revert back to manual, boost the impressions up again, and then we can revert back. There are also what's called smart campaigns. So for e-commerce, smart campaigns can work, but I don't know that you can't sort of you can't add negative keywords. They don't give you a search term report. So I'm not a massive fan of smart campaigns. That's definitely where Google is heading, though. I mean, the writing is on the wall, and that's what they want to do. Like if their wish would be you give them a bunch of money and new website and they go away and find your customers, but then you're flying in the dark as to what your negative keywords are, what your search terms are that you can then apply to other areas. So I actually use both. I use automated strategies as well as manual stuff.
Great. Then Hiatik says that, thank you so much. This is educational for me. One last question that we're going to go in is Alex's question here. Which metrics to look for when analyzing display retargeting campaigns? Display impression share? Do you have any
look at that. And we look at also click-through rate and conversion rate. That's really what we want to see. Yeah. So we want to get a good click-through rate. We want ultimately a good conversion rate. We also have a look at make sure we exclude mobile apps from our display retargeting campaign. I find there's a lot of inadvertent clicks, a lot of kids playing on mobile apps and stuff. and we look at just getting rid of junk placements as well.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay, and then last but not least, Kirsty says, thank you, very interesting live. I've registered for the free gotcha guide. So everybody head over to teachtraffic.com/gotcha and you can get that guide as well. And
Cool.
yeah, thanks for sticking around, Kirsty. Also, this is pretty late already for Ilana. So yeah, I want to wrap this up. Thank you very much, Ilana, for making the time and teaching this stuff to us. I think it was really interesting to everybody. And where can people find out more about you? Where should they go check you out? I mean, you already had your slide, but this is, again, your moment to name your links.
Yeah, best place is just to go to teachtraffic.com and they'll find me there. They'll find my podcast, which is also called Teach Traffic. And yeah, they can find me just easy, teachtraffic.com.
Cool. All right, then I will let you go in a second here. And everybody who is watching, thank you very much for joining another Measure Master live training. If you want to check out our previous live trainings, then head over to measureschool.com/measuremasters, where you can sign up to our Measure Masters group, and there's all the different live trainings that we have done over the past few months, and also will be doing over the next few months there as well. And yeah, that's already it with this month's Measure Master live training. Thank you very much for attending, everybody, and participating. And I hope to see you in the next one. My name is Julian. Till next time.